let's just get right into it, shall we? We are here today to talk about Scream Factory's new 4K UHD Blu-ray release of the 2008 post-apocalyptic thriller, sci-fi action with a little bit of horror movie, Doomsday. This was written by and directed by Neil Marshall. It stars Rona Mitra with supporting roles by Bob Hoskins and Malcolm McDowell. Now my question is this film ready to be revived with a stunning 4K upgrade, or is this simply a relic of the past? Let's dive into this Scream Factory release and see if it's worth the upgrade or perhaps even a first-time watch. Hey, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films, and if you just take a moment, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. Now, Neil Marshall directed this film. Before this, he directed Dog Soldiers, which this is a recent Scream Factory release as well, and also The Descent, which I don't think is on Blu-ray at this point, but I'll probably snag it if it ends up on Blu-ray. I haven't seen it in a while. But he directed these pretty simple, not necessarily simple, but they're more contained horror films. This one is a very large-scale film, but it's about like a Reaper virus that it's kind of reminiscent of something to the extent of Resident Evil or 28 Days Later. But they're basically a Reaper virus, which is kind of a deadly virus. People get it and their face gets all messed up and then they die. Kind of like the virus in Stephen King's The Stand, maybe. But here so this happens in Scotland. So to contain the virus, they shut Scotland off. They put like walls around both sides of it, big walls, so you can't get in or out, which kind of ends up in a situation similar to Escape from New York, but it's a little different because in Escape from New York, they close off New York and they the criminal scumbags. They kind of use New York as a prison, but it has a kind of similar type of idea where, and it has a, to me, it's very similar in execution to Escape from New York, which we'll get more into that here shortly. But so they've closed off Scotland. They've saved people from the Reaper virus for the time being. Now the Reaper virus happens in 2008, which was the year this movie was made. During the Reaper virus, during that beginning part, you see a woman with her daughter, and she's trying to escape, and her daughter gets her eye damaged. Like one of her eyes gets damaged. It gets plucked out or something, but she gets damaged to her eye, but the little girl ends up escaping on a helicopter. But the mom ends up staying. But the little girl goes to London or the city, and it goes after that opening scene, and then they shut down Scotland. It cuts to like 27 years later. At that point, the little girl with the eye is now the main character, played by Rona Mitra, Eden Sinclair, and she's kind of developed a kind of action hero type of mentality in a way. Now this character is very similar to Snake Plissken which Kurt Russell played in Escape from New York. It's kind of a similar type of character, even with the eye missing. But she actually uses this eye a little differently. They do a little bit of creative work with it. She can she has a fake eye, and she can take it out and use it to see around corners and things of that nature. So there is some purpose to it, and she can still see as long as she has the fake eye in. But she likes to take the fake eye out sometimes and use it, and then at those points she wears an eye patch and looks more like Snake Plissken. Rona Mitra is a British actress, and I think she has a very strong presence here. Now she does have a sense of elegance, and she's also fairly hot as well. But she does a fairly solid portrayal of this character. When you see sometimes when you're almost gender swapped or in a situation where you have a kind of Snake Plissken character, but they do add more emotion to this character than the Snake Plissken character. So they at least they don't completely take the emotion away. Originally, they wanted to have her say some more comic one-liners and stuff, but I guess that didn't work out too good. They kind of have her more cold, which is closer to Snake Plissken. I guess they were trying to get her kind of away from that a little bit, but they do add some emotion to her. And I guess one question when you see this sort of situation is this character like a Mary Sue character, like they say Rey is in Star Wars, where everything they do is perfect and things of that nature. I would say throughout the film, maybe not necessarily. Bad things happen to the character, and she does go through some things. At one point, she gets captured and tortured, and that part actually reminds me a lot of Clint Eastwood's character, the man with no name, in the Fistful, what was it? For a Few Dollars More, the first of the Dollars trilogy. And during the middle of the film, he gets the bad guys capture him and beat his ass, and he gets hurt pretty bad. The bad thing about this, though, is she's like, there's like a guy like punching her in the stomach, she'd have broken ribs and stuff, and it's one of those action movie things where we're kind of like okay with it at some point. I mean, now we're kind of getting to the point where we're kind of like, that's not very realistic. I think the older you get, the more you realize if you get punched in the stomach and you get some ribs broken, you're not going to have a good rest of your day. But she eventually is able to recover from this in a really short period of time of like maybe 10 minutes and continue being an action hero. So even though she is captured and beat up at one point, she still is able to recover in a superhuman type of way. But a lot of times that happens in action movie. I was watching Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone, and I remember when I was younger and I watched it, it didn't bother me. There's a part near the end where he fights this African American or black character played by I think his name is Leon, but he fights him in this cave, and that guy's like beating the shit out of him, and they're beating the shit out of each other. But it's after the fight, Sylvester Stallone's still able to he walks away kind of hurt, but then he recovers pretty quickly. He's able to climb up mountains and stuff, but he gets hit pretty hard, and it's similarly she gets hit fairly hard here. But I do like it that she doesn't go through the movie unscathed. She obviously she gets her eye cut out, but they really needed that part where she's captured and beat up. So maybe it would have been nicer if it had some kind of a longer lasting effect. So Bob Hoskins is second billed in this film. He has a decent size role, but he doesn't come along for the adventure. Now, I don't even think we've gotten to the adventure, what it is, but he is her boss, and he comes to her. So this is now 2035, and the Reaper virus has returned to London, and it's becoming a bit of a problem. But they have discovered, now Scotland's been blocked off for all these 27 years, but they've been looking at cameras, and they have seen that there are survivors within the Reaper zone, or the blocked off zone. And so what they want to do is the politicians and they want to send in a group of people to find like a person within that zone who is immune to the Reaper virus, and then that way they'll be able to find an antidote maybe for the Reaper virus. So Bob Hoskins, whose character here is really on the main character's side for the most part, so he's kind of a good guy character. There are some other politicians who aren't so much that way, but he is kind of at the mercy of the politicians in some points. But he does fight for the main character in certain scenes, and he doesn't really betray her or anything of that nature. So he is kind of a likable character in that way. So what happens is he goes to Eden Sinclair, Rona Mitra's character, and he knows her, and she's done a good damn job. It shows her in doing another job right before this. Her and her team are doing a good job, and there's some very graphic violence. One of her main team members gets his head like blown off in a very graphic way, which will catch your attention fairly quick because there is some fairly graphic violence in this film. There's a lot in this film, really. It's almost like really wanting to mess with your senses and just throw stuff at you a pretty good bit. Now, there is two versions here. There is an unrated version and theatrical version on this. Now, the unrated version is only in Blu-ray. It doesn't add a lot more violence, but it adds more scenes and more exposition type of scenes and maybe more character development scenes. And those type of scenes might have helped this movie a lot, I think, because there is a lot of action sequences in this film. And sometimes when you just go action, and then you cut out. That's the first thing to leave, typically, when they have to cut something out. They got to cut out the character development parts. And sometimes when you cut those out, people kind of lose interest because they can't just watch action. Not to say this movie necessarily does that, but so Bob Hoskins comes to her and he basically tells her she's in charge of this team. So she goes in, and there's a lot of people in this team, and a very diverse group of people, including there's another woman who's a driver of these. They got these, I think there's 3 of them. These very big. They're almost like a tank, but it's more like a tank that holds like probably it could hold like maybe 20 people. They're huge, and so they're going to drive those in there, and so that's kind of their plan. They're going to go in like with these big tank machines and drive in there, and then try to find somebody who might possess a cure to this thing. And then I guess another second mission is he does have like Malcolm McDowell's character is a doctor who was researching this, and he's like, if there's a cure, he's gonna know the cure, so you need to go find him and get the cure. So that's the main mission, is to go find him. But they get in there, and then they go through several different adventures. Now, similar to Escape from New York, they find there's new cities. They've developed like kind of a very similar like gangs to Escape from New York, almost like punk rock type of gangs. There's one that they come across, the guy's named Soul, and he's the one that captures them and beats her up and stuff. And they even brutally kill some of her team. Now, almost all, like a lot of her team, some of them survive for a while, but a lot of her team get killed fairly quickly and fairly brutally during the first like siege, within the first 20 minutes of getting inside of the inner world. But they continuously brutally get killed, because there's a pretty good bit of team members to begin with, and as they're going forward, like most of them pretty quickly get killed. Now, some of them do survive further into the movie, and I think maybe one of them survives the whole film. Now, Saul, who's the leader of this group of marauders in the inner zone of Scotland, he has a second in command, Viper. It's like a woman who's a pretty badass, and she's kind of very sadistic acting and things of that nature. They eventually get away from them, even though they keep chasing them, and then they eventually go to find this medieval castle where Malcolm McDowell's character is there, like he's acting like he's a lord, and he used to be a scientist, but he's gotten a little deranged now, and he's doing like gladiator type fights. And then you have this gladiator situation. Eventually, another movie this is a lot like, or another type of movie, is like Mad Max. Now, this came out before Mad Max Fury Road, but it does have a very similar type of road chase scene near the end of it that's like the chases in Fury Road. So it basically combines a lot of different types of movies, post-apocalyptic movies, zombie movies, Escape from New York, which I guess is kind of post-apocalyptic, but they kind of throw a bunch of those all in there together. I guess the main question is this just a hodgepodge of different films thrown in together and then blended up, or does it have its own creative personality? And are these just homages to these movies? I think I'm going to, I guess, lean more towards the later. And I really think the film in general is a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at the release. So it's got a slipcover. Now, I didn't get this directly from the Scream Factory site, but they did have a poster available at one point. I think it may be close to being sold out, if not sold out now. But there was a poster with this. I ended up buying this from Target. But here's the inside of it, and there's 3 discs. There's the 4K of the theatrical cut. There's the Blu-ray of the theatrical cut, and then here is the unrated cut on the 3rd disc. And it's just white on the inside. There's no reversible new artwork or anything like that. But I actually like this artwork with the club. It's like from the gladiator scene, and it says "Survive This." I mean, that's fairly simple. I like it. And as far as the transfer of this, now the first time I saw this a long time ago, I probably saw it on DVD, I think, on a regular TV. So it's hard. I mean, I thought it looked okay then, but this transfer here is gorgeous. I think this was shot digitally, but it looks amazing, really, throughout the whole film. I think it's very vivid. There's a lot of detail. The blacks look really, really deep. In general, I think this is a stunning 4K release. I mean, the film looks terrific. Now, I'm going to go ahead and rate the movie. I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars. Like I said, I think this is a lot of fun. It is a derivative, yes, and it may not leave a lasting impression, but I was very entertained throughout the film, and I think I liked it better this time than the first time I watched it. The first time I watched it, I was more annoyed about it being like a lot of other films, but unfortunately, I think like Rona Mitra, she probably should have been like more of a star. She is terrific in this, and her physicality is great. Her action stunts, I mean, I assume she's doing them herself, but I mean, she does really great work in this, and I like her look. It's terrific, but maybe the maybe she's a little too serious. Maybe if they threw in a little comedy, or it made it worse. It made it even worse. But I don't know. But I think the movie, it was seven. I think now they did a lot here. I think it's 17 million. I mean, now they're throwing like 200 or 300 million at stuff to make them. But here's $17 million. It looks terrific. It looks like the movies today that are a lot more money. It didn't make money that much. I think it's considered a box office bomb, though it did make, I think, $25 million. So they do consider it a bomb. I think with the advertising budget, it probably didn't even break even, and unfortunately didn't get seen. I think this is something people should probably like rewatch or come back to it. I think it does deserve a second chance, and it looks as good as some stuff today. Now, most of the effects here were done practically, which I prefer to the digital, like the computer animated stuff. I think a lot of it's very, very cool, and you can tell the director, he was a little overwhelmed, I think, by this movie, but you can tell he did enjoy the ideas behind the movie and all that. Anyway, if you've seen this film, or seen the 4K release of it, even the film itself, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.